Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family of Yvonne. Thank you for being here today to celebrate her life. Let's begin with prayer. We're gathered once again with hearts that overflow with gratitude for the life we shared with Yvonne. Though our sense of loss hangs heavy, we come here today filled with thankfulness for the gift of Yvonne's presence in our lives. We thank you for the laughter that echoed through our lives, the music that poured through Yvonne's heart and hands, the lessons learned that shaped us, and the unwavering love that bloomed between you, your family, and so many of us. We cherish the memories that we hold today, the moments that will forever be a source of comfort and joy and inspiration. And today we are filled with supreme solace in the knowledge that you, Yvonne, are at peace. And may you walk along a new path, free from pain and suffering, free to once again immerse yourself in God's everlasting love. Today we bless Yvonne's family and those whose hearts are still filled to overflowing with love and gratitude for having her with us in physical form for such a long time, and yet still with us right here and right now in her spiritual body. We know that you, dear Spirit, surround her with your comforting presence, and we call on you to fire us with strength, the strength to keep on keeping on. We forever are grateful for the gift of knowing Yvonne, and in this celebration of her life, we pray, Amen.
All of your attendance here is gratifying to the family. It helps to celebrate the memory of a wonderful person. She gave me 50 years of joy. In 2009, Yvonne wrote a memo. She asked me to have a memorial, not a funeral, in a home or a church, lots of music, and good food. The kids have helped deliver that and more. Philip, an outstanding graphic artist, did this wonderful brochure. I'm sure it will be a keepsake to many of you. He had the help of Sean and Tawny, and also Sean made a nice video that you'll see and a slideshow. He used his talent, many hours of work, and I'm sure you'll enjoy that. And lastly, Tawny, the clone of her mother and great organizer, organized this whole thing, all the details, and we're grateful to her. So let's continue this fine service. Yvonne would have liked it.
Thank you, Bob. We are blessing you now. Can you believe the musical talent that is here today, sharing with all of us? They are all honoring Yvonne Kovacevich because she meant something very important to all of us. You'll be hearing more gifted musicians from her family who studied with her, learned from her, and deeply loved her. Yvonne's legacy stretches far and wide for so many to appreciate and admire. A woman of beauty and strength, gifts and talents being eulogized here and now. Today we honor Yvonne for what she has meant to each one of us. So we thank you for being here. David?
I only got to hear Yvonne play the piano a few times when she did duets with Tawny at our church on the South Hill. But they were electrifying and inspiring times that we shared with her, and we could see the years of talent and dedication and love that went into her music. Faced with the passing of someone that we love, our hearts cry out with a sense of separation. And we're not comforted with easy answers. Our heart tells us that we're meant to live, not to die. We are meant to express life ever more consumingly. And when someone seemingly fails to do this, we wonder why. But we've learned that to understand the meaning of death, we must understand the meaning of life. And looking at life, we see that all things change. But although all things change, nothing ever perishes. If this is true in the world of things, how much more it must be true in the world of the mind and the heart. Each soul has a substance of its own, no less permanent for being immaterial, no less real for being invisible. We cannot measure it with calipers or weigh it with scales. We cannot feel it with our fingers or see it with our eyes, but it is there, substantial and real. It changes, but it will never perish. Life does not begin with birth. It is not the end with death. Life is an eternal process, an eternal progress, a visible form, an audible voice, an aggregation of organs, a network of ideas. We are all more than these. These are but the trappings of visibility. We are expressions of the very spirit of life itself. And whether we are in a body or not, we are life. The truth is that we cannot die. We are the energy of life, the expression of life, and life cannot or does not end. There is a unity beyond the unities of time and space and place, even beyond thought, a unity that links us as one always. Does not love link with our friends, though they be on the other side of the earth? So those we love may pass beyond our reach, the reach of our hands, but never outside of our hearts. So what is on the other side of death? We do not know, but we can be sure it's life. Life is on the other side of death as it is on this side. Death is but a door through which we pass into another room. It is a rest between two notes of an unfinished symphony. It is a page we turn to a new chapter in the book of life. It is not end. It is not an end. It is a new beginning. It is not the fall of night. It is another dawn.
Sean and Tani have asked me to share the sailing ship. I am standing on the seashore. A ship at my side spreads her white sails to the morning breeze and starts for the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength, and I stand and watch her until at length she is a speck of white cloud just where the sea and the sky come to mingle with each other. Then someone at my side says, "There, she's gone." Gone where? Gone from my sight, that is all. She is just as large in mast and hull and spar as she was when she left my side, and she is just as able to bear her load of living weight to her destined harbor. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at the moment when someone at my side says, "There, she's gone," there are other eyes watching her come and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, "There she comes," and that is dying.
They're now members of the family and others who may want to share some insights and information and inspiration about Yvonne. Take it away.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Thank you, Dave. Hi, everyone. I'm Brandon Wright, Yvonne's eldest grandson. It's wonderful and truly comforting to see so many familiar faces here today, celebrating the life of my grandmother, Yvonne Kovacevich. As many of you know, Grandma Yvonne was the youngest of 10 siblings and the last of her very remarkable generation. She was obviously a major presence in our family, a fact evidenced by all of the love that's filling this room right now. Growing up, I was very fortunate because down the road from my parents' house, my grandmother and grandfather lived just about half a mile, or about 1 kilometer for those of us who measure differently. That meant frequent visits, which was very handy, especially during times when I needed an escape from arguments with my parents. I could always count on Grandma's drawer filled with treats, sweets, and candy, and everyone here who's been to their house knows exactly which drawer I'm talking about. It's funny though, because Grandma would lovingly fill me with sugar, and then somewhat ironically, she would complain about my boundless energy. And her solution was to send me outside to run laps around the house. And trust me, given how much I love candy and sweets, I ended up running a lot of laps around that house. So beyond candy and sweets, Grandma gave me and all of us another lasting gift: music. She taught piano for over 50 years, nurturing a love of music in countless students, including my mother, my brother, and me. In fact, the picture on the very front of the brochure for this memorial service is of Grandma teaching my mother piano when my mother was about the age that my daughter is now. So music was a passion that I carried through college and into my own life today. And so Grandma, every time I sit down to play music with me or my own children, I think of you and I think of the legacy that you've created. My grandmother's life was not without its own challenges. She experienced divorce, and yet she never gave up on love. After 2 attempts at marriage with my biological grandfather, she found lasting happiness with the true love of her life, my Grandpa Bob. They enjoyed more than 50 beautiful years together. Grandma raised 2 biological children and embraced 6 stepchildren fully as her own, showing that family is built by love and care, not just biology. You know, you can put it another way: family is who you show up for. And what a tremendous gift this was for me to learn from both of my grandparents and to see reflected in everybody here showing up today for my grandmother. And speaking of lessons, the lesson that my grandmother taught me through her own experience of new beginnings, resilience, and putting in the effort towards brighter days have guided me profoundly in my own life as I've now navigated challenges of my own, including divorce. And of course, Grandma loved cooking, and that left a lasting imprint too. I'll deeply miss many of those delicious meals and that full drawer of candy and sweets, but her passion for food is something else that I've also carried forward in my own life. So I want to say thank you, Grandma. Thank you for the music, the delicious meals, and of course, the endless supply of sugar and running laps around your house, of course. But most of all, thank you for giving me the greatest gift that anyone can give another person: the gift of always being there for me when I needed you the most. I love you, Grandma, and I will miss you tremendously.
I'll compose this, my brother. For any of you who might not know me, I am not the eldest grandson, but I am certainly the favorite. So, and if you knew my grandmother did not have favorites because she loved everyone. And that's one of the greatest lessons that she has taught me thus far in my life, in my wonderful family. As my brother spoke, my grandmother raised stepchildren and biological children. She raised everyone. And she taught me boundless love and acceptance of everyone. And I hope that everyone here today is aware of that, that's what my grandmother was all about. And that's what I hope to teach my children growing up and myself and my mother are teaching my children music. Again, a gift that you all, I hope you all know, that my grandmother passed down to me, and now I was debating whether or not I wanted to share this, but I figured now is a better time than ever. During my grandma's final moments, I was lucky enough to be in the room with her as she passed. And not only did I get to be there with her as she transitioned, I got to play music for her as she passed. And I will forever be grateful knowing that the gift she gave me allowed her to find solace in her suffering, and it allowed her to transition to this next phase in life. So now, I'd like to share with everyone in this room here the wonderful gift that my grandmother bestowed upon me.
It's so nice to be here with all of you today. I may not know some of you, so I'll just say I'm Yvonne's daughter-in-law. I married Bernard in 2009, and over the course of the relationship that I have with this family, I was privileged to play music with Yvonne. Much has been said about the gift of her music already here today. But she was one of the best musicians I've ever played with. She played the piano with a remarkable soul and subtlety, and just pure beauty. My time playing with her, I felt I learned some things from her about how to be a better musician. And it was just also one of the ways that she welcomed me into the family. She was so kind and generous to me, and filled with wisdom and good advice. And also much has been said about the blended family, and my experience dovetails with that as well, because I was welcomed with such open arms into the family. As we go on without Yvonne in this physical world with us, I believe that she has gone to a better place. And I believe that she will live on in all of our hearts.
I'd like to start by thanking everybody for coming. It's wonderful to see so many people here. And a lot of times when somebody passes away, people will say, I can't believe she's gone. But my mother was such an incredible force of nature that her absence is palpable. And I'm happy to be able to be with my family in these days to try and fill that void. And I'm grateful for everybody who is here today and who's been with me these last few weeks. And I'm especially grateful for everybody who, in her last days, spent so much time with her and just filled her days with so much love and so much compassion, and it was truly touching. I don't think that anybody could have a better passing than that, and I just want to express my gratitude for everybody who was there. Thank you, everyone.
Well, hello, everybody. Excuse me, I'm Dennis. I'm the fourth of the 8 kids that Mom helped us all grow up. She taught us love, honesty, music, cleanliness, truth, and how not to hold a grudge. I remember main thing she taught too was how to be frugal, and she was frugal. I remember when I was in the 3rd grade, the rule in our house in the bathroom was no more than 3 squares. And to this day, I still feel guilty when I roll more than that off of there. So she made a real good impact. One of her attributes also was the amazing sense of awareness and and intuition. If you look up in the dictionary woman's intuition, you'll see a picture of her. For instance, when I was in junior high, there was a bus at University City that picked up all the kids and drove us all up to Patterson's Rollercade to go skating. Well, that's pretty innocent, but she said to me, you know what, I don't know what it is, I just don't feel good about this. I can't let you go. And of course I was disappointed, because I knew that was the biggest make-out bus there was going to anywhere for a 13-year-old kid. So she was right. Now, she's with 3 of her kids, Dave, Dan, and Mark. She's also with all of her 9 siblings. She was the last to go. She's in a better place. I give her credit, really, for who I am today. God bless you, Mom. We miss you. The world is just not the same place without you.
Step-parents have a bad reputation. They've been portrayed as jealous and undermining the family, but that was absolutely not my experience with Yvonne. From the moment she and my dad started dating, it was clear that she wanted me and my brother Mark to be part of their life together. Before they were married, she made a concerted effort to establish a relationship with us outside of her relationship with our dad. She approached a potentially challenging role with kindness, patience, and a full heart. I adored her immediately. Yvonne was a natural mother. She raised, as you know by now, 8 children, but only 2 of them her biological children, but she made little distinction. She loved children, and she understood children, and they loved her in return. That mothering extended to her grandchildren and then her great-grandchildren as well. She understood the needs of children, the need to be present, and of course, the need for snacks, as you now know. She carried also, in addition to the famous drawer, she carried in her purse at all times a bag of candy and had an innate sense of when our blood sugar was dropping, and it was immediately offered. In our family, food is love. Yvonne loved to cook, and she was really good at it. She could make anything, from a complicated French dish to your basic sandwich, so delicious. She taught me to cook, but not only did she teach me how to cook, but she taught me the importance of sharing meals. She was an inherently nurturing person in all aspects of her life. She also set an amazing example of how to nurture a marriage. She and my father adored each other, and they loved and cared for each other until the very end. And then, of course, there was the music. Always the music, in every situation. Bach, Mozart, Schubert, Chopin, Ravel, Christmas carols, anything. The piano was part of our family. Yvonne would learn these amazingly challenging pieces, sometimes practicing them for years. And this brings me to my favorite memory of her. She'd be sitting at the piano practicing, and she would get to a difficult part, and her fingers weren't doing what they were supposed to. She would exclaim, often quite loudly, "Shit!" There are several works that I can't listen to this day without hearing her and her utterances. The piece you're about to hear, Bach's Italian Concerto, is one of them. And Greg said that he might utter that word as well, because it's a really complicated piece.
Hard page turn, so when the page turns, you might hear something.
Oh my goodness, Greg, Maestro, that was beautiful. And everyone in the family, we were all playing the notes with you, just so you know. And you did beautifully, even on those page turns. Isn't that great? So I am the one girl in this family of 7 boys. And I'm happy that you are all here to celebrate my mother's life. She was an amazing person, as you all know, and have had any doings with her. You know her character of love and compassion, music. My dad had a couple of words for her. He called her the Prid, but he also called her Pepper Pot. Now, my cousin Brandon, raise your hand there, Brandon, he discovered that we were related to Eric the Red. So, Dad, that's where Pepper Pot comes from. Being the only daughter of 7 brothers, I had such a special relationship with her. She was my lunch buddy. She was my duet buddy. She was my 2-piano buddy. And more extraordinary, she was my teacher, just as you see on the beginning of the card that you have, teaching me the 3rd when I was only 4 years old. But she gave me another lesson in her passing, and I would love to share that with you. When she was at Touchmark, she had a doctor, and his name was Dr. Schubert. Can you figure? He knew I was very distraught over her situation, and he'd asked me, "Is there anything I can do?" And I looked at him, and I said, "Can you bring a piano here?" The next day I came in, and there was a piano. So she was surrounded by not only her family, but music. I often had the early time with my mom, not always, because Phil filled in some of it too. But in the early morning, I'd start playing a very sweet little tune by Tchaikovsky called Morning Prayer. And then I'd look at her and I'd say, "Do you want more?" And of course she'd smile and nod. So I would play some of her favorite pieces. And it was just a lovely time. When I ended, then we'd have breakfast together, and I'd help her eat. And then the next person in the row to come in was usually Phil and my dad, and they'd sit there and be with her, and we would all chat. Although I saw her get kind of annoyed because Dad and I and Phil, and then Brian would come in too, and we were all John with one another. And it was like, you guys need to pay attention to me. Look at me over here. We did. So when Brian came in, he was able to play beautiful music for her at his lunch hour. And not only that, I have some students in the back that came in and played beautiful music for her. She was surrounded by love, because music to me is love. And I always tell my students, if we had more pianists, Greg, we'd have a beautiful world, wouldn't we? So you should all start taking piano right away. On the day of her passing, she was surrounded, as Brian mentioned, and he was playing his beautiful music for her as she slept and finally took her last breath. One by one, everyone left, but I stayed. I had to pick up her things and whatnot. But my mom and I had a condition, and unfortunately, we got razzed about the condition. It's called wiperitis, or clean everything up before you leave the room-itis. So I started polishing everything, sinks, tables, picking up little flower things on the floor until I couldn't do anymore. And I just plopped myself down on the piano bench, and I thought, I need to play my last song for her. So I chose a very beautiful piece called Nocturne by Edvard Grieg. And for those of you that don't know, Edvard Grieg, he's Norwegian. And my mother was half Norwegian. The other half was Swede. So I don't know, that's probably also a little pepper pot, right, Dad? So I sat there and I played the very beginning opening of the song, and it's just beautiful. Greg, could you share a little of this beautiful little tune? As I was playing this music, a tear rolled down my face. But then my hands started shaking, and I was sobbing, and I was playing every inventive note possible out of the Edvard Grieg Nocturne. But there's a section that has a bunch of arpeggios, and I thought, oh, I'm almost there. And I just wanted to play this music so beautifully for my mom. And so I thought, okay, I can do this. I can do the arpeggios. Everybody knows how to do that. Greg, could you play a little of that section, please? Beautiful, yay, but those weren't the notes I played. They were more akin to the notes of John Cage, a very contemporary composer. So by then I was really angry at myself. And finally, I just took a big breath. You can do that with me. Let's breathe in. I took more than one, I will tell you that. But something happened, and my anger started to slip away, and even some of my grief. And I thought, my mother's giving me another lesson. And to the surprise, the last coda of the music was played beautifully. That's the letting go. And we all have that potential of letting go. And that was her lesson to me, to realize that I can let go. I have not mastered the skill. I'm still working on it. I might need you to come to the house and play a little more, Greg. When I was a young girl, I was really sick. And my mom told me, you're never given more than you can handle. And I looked up at her and I said, I must be really strong. I know that everyone here has gone through fear, loss, pain. And I know that you too are very strong because you're here celebrating life. We get to do that together and we can support one another. So my mom said if I practiced enough hours, it would allow me to play the beautiful notes of my life, as long as I could learn to let go. Thank you.
Thank you, Tawny, and thank you all, members of the family, for your sharing. And I do know that many of you have stories and insights and anecdotes about Yvonne. Time does not permit us to go into those at this end of the room, but at the other end of the room, there awaits us fellowship and good food, and you'll have your opportunity to share your stories at that time. You know, I've been a minister, a preacher, if you like, for over 60 years. And one of the things I've learned in that 60 years is that sometimes my congregation, if I'm giving a sermon, sometimes my congregation finishes before I do. And at the end of my talk in the service, I go to the back of the auditorium and shake hands with people as they leave. And many of them will say, well, that was a great talk. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And then they would shake hands and go out to their car. And I always wondered, were they able to take something from my message that day and incorporate it into their own life? Because that's really the only value in a sermon, and it's really the only value in life, is to be able to apply the spiritual principles that we know and love in our daily living. The thing that you might be asked to do today, the thing that I'm asking you to do, is whatever you loved about Yvonne, whatever you admired in her, whatever quality stands out for you, you have the privilege and the opportunity to implement that into your own life, so that you are left not with just a memory of her, but a living, breathing presence of Yvonne expressing herself in and through you. And that can happen at any time of any day. The other thing that I've learned is that we are never separate from those we love. And at any moment of any day, wherever we happen to be, we can simply think of her, and we are with her, and she is with us. And this is not just a minister blowing off here. This is really the way I believe the universe works. And so, if there is something left unsaid, something that you wanted her to know, maybe you needed to ask for forgiveness for taking too many candies out of the candy jar, or whatever it might be, you can communicate with her. You simply have to think of her, and she is there with you, and you are there with her. These qualities that you see in her are in you as well. Thank you.
So I asked to go last in the speaking order so that I could say a few words about the slideshow and how it was put together, and explain to you a little bit about what you'll see in here. But before I do that, I wanted to take a minute and let Brandon, Brian, and Phil know that I'm super pleased that they did not mention one of my favorite Yvonne stories. Anytime our family got together, especially for occasions like holidays, birthdays, special dinners, where we would dress up, Yvonne would always say, "Phil, you look so handsome, such a good-looking man." Or, "Brian, you're such a good-looking guy." Or, "Brandon, so handsome, such a good-looking guy." And she would always say to me, she said, "Sean, you're such a good-looking guy. What a handsome man." And even during her last 2 weeks in Touchmark, I went in to visit, and she said, "Well, hello, good-looking. Such a handsome man." Well, you can see this went on for many years, but at a dinner event a few years back, Yvonne was going through the handsome compliments, and Brandon says, "Grandma, you always tell us we're so handsome and good looking, but come on now, tell us who is the most handsome." And she shot back, "Well, that would be your dad, of course." That's a true story. During that visit to Touchmark, we talked about my birthday trip to Las Vegas where I was watching basketball and my ukulele arrangements and how they were coming along and earlier things in life like how we all got to this point. And she said to me, "You can come back anytime. I like talking to you." And that's the way she was and will be remembered. She was always interested in what you were doing and always interested in how the family was doing. She cared about everyone and family first. She was a remarkable cook, truly the best, and I learned a lot about cooking from her. And she was a fabulous teacher and performer, and she still managed to be a fabulous person in all facets of her life. She was an individual as a wife, mom, grandma, great-grandma. She was truly the definition of matriarch. And we will all miss her incredible personality and zest for life, her love and compassion, the wonderful care she provided to us all profoundly. We will miss her, and we would thank her and remember her and honor her here today. And I thank you, like everyone else did, all of you, for being here in remembrance and in love. You are all very much appreciated. Now, about the slideshow that you're going to see after I do a quick performance for you, you get to hear a song that Bob wanted everyone to hear. Yvonne is going to sing "Let It Snow" at the beginning of this slideshow. That might not make a lot of sense, not being Christmas and everything, but this family, we made lots of music through the years, and one year we got everybody together and we actually recorded an album of holiday tunes. There were 7 or 8 of us singing on this CD. It's still available. You can purchase it on the way out. And, that's so true. And Yvonne wanted to sing "Let It Snow," so we included that on the. And Greg, that opens the slideshow, and then you'll play Claire Dillon, just so you know that. I asked her during the last visit, I asked her if she remembered the song "Moonglow," and she said she did, and it was written in 1933. The song "Moonglow" is actually still a jazz standard that's played a lot today. And I asked her, I said, "I've made a new ukulele arrangement of it," and she said she would love to have a chance to hear it. I said, "Well, I'll bring it in and play for you." And unfortunately, she passed before I had a chance to play it. So I am going to go ahead and play that for you all today. And the other thing I wanted to mention before I play the song is the slideshow, as it comes up to end our service here today, I tried to do my best to go as all slideshows would, when she was a baby and her parents, pictures like that. As we go through later pics of all the way to the great-grandkids. And as you can imagine, as I built this slideshow, more and more people contacted us, and pictures came in after the fact. So I was concerned about that. I thought I can't show this in a time frame. And then, like Tani just pointed out, I realized this is how life goes for all of us, right? There's twists and turns and ups and downs. There's never a perfect flow to anybody's life, but that's also what makes our lives interesting. And I realized that as I looked at the pictures of someone who lived a truly full and remarkable life of 90 years, that the absolute central part of living this incredible life is the family and friends that surround you through the years. What a gift that is. How lucky we are to have had the opportunity to be a part of that experience. How truly loved and blessed Yvonne was, and how truly loved and blessed we are. That said, I'm going to cue up a few buttons here while I try to get this song ready, so it'll take just a minute. Hopefully it won't blow up.
USB driver mode.
It must have been moon glow, way up in the blue. It must have been moon glow that led me straight to you. I still hear you sing. Do you want to hold me fast? We all start to pray. Oh Lord, please let this last. We seem to float right through the air. Heavenly songs, they seem to come from everywhere. Now that there's moon glow, way up in the blue, it must have been moon glow.
Yeah.
We thank all of the musicians for blessing us with their gifts today. Let's conclude this time now with prayer. Dear Lord, I cannot see, but this I know. Although the road ascends and passes from my sight, that there will be no night, that you will take her gently by the hand and lead her on along the road of life that never ends. And she will find it is not death but dawn. I do not doubt that you are there as here, and you will hold her dear. Our life did not begin with birth. It is not of this earth. And this that we call death, it is no more than the opening and closing of a door. And in your house, how many rooms must be beyond this one where we rest momently? Dear Lord, I thank you for the faith that frees, the love that knows it cannot lose its own, the love that, looking through the shadows, sees that you and she and I are one. Amen.
This concludes our service for this afternoon. We trust that you'll all be able to stay for the reception and food that is bountifully provided, and we all appreciate and thank you for participating in this service. Thank you very much.
It's too bad.
Bravo. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.